Okay. Let me know when y'all are ready. Hi everyone, I'm Daniel Donato, and we're here with Adam Audio today. And we're here in my studio in Nashville, and we're going to talk about how I would go about getting 5 different guitar tones. I'm going to improvise here, but I'm going to use a process that's not really improvised. This is usually how I go about building a palette of sound. The way that I do things here in the home studio is pretty much immensely different than what I would do in a normal studio. To start off, these Fender Tone Master amplifiers are a really revolutionary piece of technology. In my opinion, I just love them. A lot of guitar players might not dig them because they do kind of go against the cloth of what has always been tried and true. But I love evolution and combining that with technology with guitar. I think there's a lot of outcomes that could really yield innovation. And this specific tool, the Fender Tone Master, behind my friends here that are shooting all this, we have 2 Fender Tone Master amps. We're only using one, and we're using the twin reverb. What's brilliant about this amp is that it's not only solid state, and that it weighs 24 pounds, and has 2 neodymium speakers, but there's 2 cabinet simulators that are into the back, wired into the back of this amplifier, in which I can get an XLR. And so that runs into my Apollo Twin, into my second input, and that really is it. It's really fun, especially if you're someone who, say lives in a small apartment, or you live in a place where you don't have this large bandwidth to have like organically loud volume be the thing that transports you. That's most people. This amp's brilliant for that because you can literally just run it on standby and it'll sound like a $5,000 amp into your headphones. And here's the biggest thing, without any artificial signal processing. My philosophy is really grounded in serving that potential. The best that it can sound from the source, that's like everything. It's like what good water is, like what good food is. It's like as close to the source as you can, and as brilliant as with nature as you can without getting in the way of it. That's really an effective approach. So with sound design, it's a whole different thing because you have so many variables now and so many dialogues about how you need to buy all these things and always be getting new hardware. I try to go for less is more. The Telecaster, that is something that I use all the time. I think this is just like a bottle of sparkling water. It's just like the most naturally essenced, true electric guitar tone that you can have. This is one of several that I have. Love this one. This one in particular is a 1 of 1. And there's a lot of videos on it on YouTube. So this is just running straight in. So that almost in itself is tone 1, which is the most important tone, which is the guitar and the places in which the air is being pushing out the guitar signal. That really is a tone all itself. Now, there's kind of just base seasonings that I use for anything that I'm cooking up, metaphorically. I like to start with a little bit of reverb. I'm gonna walk you through 3 different reverb sounds that I use. I have a standard reverb, really like simple and short. So here's no reverb. Here's reverb. Now, why such a small amount of reverb? Well, reverb essentially fills up space. So you want to be really aware of how much space that you're filling. Because if you're not aware, odds are you're filling up too much. And so this is a really short reverb. So I would use a reverb like this on perhaps a rhythm that I want to be just really flat and foundational. So you can have something where it's like, And this is just a TC Electronics Ditto looper. It's like, I'm not trying to be Ed Sheeran or anything. It's just like the smallest, most simple looper. Do love Ed Sheeran's guitar tone though, it is magnificent. Let's walk through a second reverb. This is more of a cosmic reverb. It'll allow for you to really fill up a lot of space. And again, you know, you gotta learn the rules before you can break the rules. I'm gonna turn this down so I'm not talking over the lav the whole time. These are cool sounds, so like, so I'm informing the amount of space that I'm filling now in a completely different way than I was doing before. And that creates a whole different effect on the sound. So this I would consider to be more of a spacey approach to a tone. Then I'll layer this on my dry tone. And notice how my picking changed there. I'm not going. I'm actually going. That's all intentional. And that's the thing, and that's if your first tone, which is just getting solid quality air pushed out with not a lot of processing, is actually true and well constructed with good intention, that natural dynamic that you as a human bring to the conversation has that much more bandwidth to be communicated. And like, that's really an energy that is really effective. Like, that's the human element, which is undefinable in theory, right? So it's like, definitely set that up. Because if I was just going to town on it, it might not sound the same, you know? So if I want a solo though, which I do right now, I would turn on a different reverb. Pause loop right now. No reverb, just a good old signal. Now this reverb is very specific. It's a good lead reverb. Really drags out, like it's actually really going. So reverb is like it's like compound interest or anything that compounds, you know. So it's going to grow on top of itself. It's going to stack up. Now, I like for that a lot of the time in a lead because it allows for less to say more. And if your signal is right, also allows for more to say more because you're filling up all this space that's not even really being consciously perceived. And that can really fit in harmoniously into a soundscape that you're creating. So let's turn this loop back on. So these are just two tones working with each other. This would be a simple lead approach. This thing that I'm going to be using here is something I use all of the time. This goes to the more cosmic side of things. This is a thing known as the plus pedal. I forget where in Eastern Europe this is from, but it's from a company named Game Changer Audio. Really brilliant hardware design and technical design on their end here. It's essentially a brass pedal that acts as a sustainer, and when you wear Birkenstocks and use it, it's just like so much more fun. I don't know why, but and so what I can do with this, I can essentially create something that's like a Hendrixian feedback, but it's less distorted It's less harmonically corrupt. It's really just like a single tone. This is really fun because therefore I could also stack on it. And it's funny, again, it's letting the notes speak for themselves, really. It's just like a guitar through a good amp coming out through good air pushers, and just sustaining those. So I'll actually layer some on here. I actually might just pedal the 5. Let's hear how that sounds. So, one more time. And I'll push down just to get a little bit more before it comes back around. There we go. And it'll die down. Again, letting dynamics speak for themselves. Now this is actually kind of a fun little thing that's happening here. I don't know, maybe we're like racing down some desert that is like, you know, on some other planet, maybe Mars or something. A tone that I use all the time in the studio is a slapback delay with no reverb. Let's break down all this information that's happening before I start building some more. So everything that we talked about so far, really like the first tone, I think is the most important tone. And that's the tone that's like the least affected tone. That is like just the cut of meat and or like synthesized meat for our vegan viewers. So like just like the base protein itself, and whatever your philosophy is for what model guitar and what amp that is, good. Just be really aware of what those tools are and know where they go and where they don't go. That's why I love these Adam audio speakers, and I know that a lot of guitar players really like them. The thing that I'm looking for a lot of the time is I want it to sound like the way it felt when I was tracking it. And so a guitar amp is like every guitar player's dilemma. Like you listen back to how it sounds and how it was mic'd, and it was like, it doesn't sound anything like it, you know? And so the amp's hard enough and the mics are hard enough, and the last thing that you need fighting you is a monitor, because that can affect your performance. It can affect how you view yourself or you view the band, and have lost plenty of good takes to bad monitors. I just wanted to go off that there. So, but tone 1, make sure just the cut of meat is great. We got into tone 2, which is just adding some wetness. Now, to get a little bit more into wetness, I like a slapback delay. Often is my first go-to just because of my background. Coming up in honky tonks and playing a lot of country music, it's like, it's cool for leads, and it's good also for rhythms as well. So let's do a little bit different of an approach here for our next loop. Do something that's more honky tonk and country. There we go. See, reverb is another thing, or sorry, slapback delay is like another thing, like it compounds on top of each other. So a little bit less is more. Now, I either go very short with my delays and I have small amounts of repeats, or I go very long with my delay tails, and I usually have very loud in the mix as well. So to kind of get some contrast and show you what that feels like, I'll use this approach here. Go lower. And we'll double that. One thing that I've yet to speak about, which is like very crucial, I did this on purpose because I wanted to get kind of the more top level audio ideas out of the way. Compression. I think compression is one of the great unspoken languages from guitar players to guitar players, yet that in any studio interaction, anyone who's behind the board, I mean, that's one of the first things that you're figuring out is gain staging and compression. And so presently, I have found the philosophy, at least for processing a compressor on a guitar pedal board. Now, I would always prefer like an LA2A or an LA3A or like a 76 and something on a guitar. Again, so the least amount getting between me and my amp, the least amount of pedals, the better. Love the Ego compressor from Wampler. Right now I have it set very extreme. It's very fun. I usually leave a compressor on just for solo work. And so I'll show you that here. And we'll like do the Rachel Ray thing like before and after. Should be like no compression. 1, 2, Like it tells a story, but check this out with some compression on. I can let the element of vibrato and bends and a single note sustain a little bit longer. That's really brilliant. Let's also just hear it on its own. Nothing. Here's it on. So compression, the philosophy I have with that is that if you have to put one on your board, which I like to do for live settings, I run it really hard. I run it like very extreme. And then leaving all like the actual fine dining, fine china compression. Like the fork that is just for your salad, like that kind of fancy level of detail. I leave all that to external hardware. You know, it's hard to beat Teletronics, like it really is. Like, you know, I like old Boss pedals and stuff, and I also like new compressors, but it's hard to beat those. You know, this is the legacy, tried and true pieces, and so every studio that I work in, you know, has those, and I always like to rely on those. But for this particular setting, again, this is not that kind of a studio. This is my home, so I love this. All right, cool. Now, let's talk about some weird ideas. I have 3 weird sounds on hand at any given time. One sound that I use almost all the time is the phaser. Phaser is brilliant, right? On. A phaser like instantly takes new jeans and just makes them all like faded, and it's got like holes in them, and it's like just like it's a different thing. It's instantly worn in, very, very classic feeling. My favorite phase tone is Waylon Jennings' phase tone, which was the old MXR. And then there's also the out of phase tone that happens when you change the pickups and change the magnets in the pickup in a guitar, like Peter Green, or very famously like Ralph Mooney, who played pedal steel for Waylon a lot of years. And this is my signature Cosmic Country phaser that we've put out with Keeley Electronics. And why I want to talk about this one, just not more because it has my name on it, but for real reasons, is that because it really is a brilliant phaser in the sense that you can get something that's weird and you can get it dialed in a way that works. Sometimes these pedals that are coming out are just so obscure and so weird, like I could only use it on 4 bars of a song in a recording that I did an overdub on 3 months later, that kind of a thing. But this you can kind of turn on in the heat of battle or in the heat of musicking, and it'll actually work for you. So really just classy and smooth. It's like velvet. works for a rhythm. That's cool. And then I could also solo with it. Check out what just happened here. Feel that. Now check this out. You know, sometimes your last word has the most potential to be perhaps the most effective messenger of whatever intention and feeling you're trying to convey, whether that's literal or whether that's also equating to the musical situation that you're experiencing. It's like, that's why the compressor is great. That's what I turned on there. That was the AB. It allows for you to say more with playing less. And you can probably go to every other YouTube channel on this platform and you'll hear a lot of people talking about, you know, say more with less. And it's funny how that starts to unveil itself to you as you play guitar for longer. So I like to surround myself and like participate with tools that enhance that philosophy. Huge Grateful Dead fan. Jerry Garcia, ahead of time, really. Not even his time, really just ahead of time. I'll turn on a little bit of lead verb here. This is the Qtron. Now, it does this, no words. Like, it's just so weird. But it's fun. It's really effective. Sometimes weird is effective. One more. This one's cool. This is Jack White. I'm a huge Jack White fan. And he uses this, I think he uses this exact pedal. Sounds terrible with chords, right? But when you have some single notes to it, kind of sounds like a steel drum. Now I have a couple applications for this already, so. You can straight up just get into the jump rope of the solo and improvise with it. No compression on right now. Compression on, it's gonna help a lot. Now something else you can do that's a little bit more imaginative is almost lay down a bass line that's kind of like something good for it. Right? So that's how I would go about getting around 5 tones, maybe a little bit more. Thank you guys for watching. Again, dig on these Adam audio monitors. I love mine. They are staying where they are. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you. I think we can just fade from there. And just like do like a video fade with like the Adam Audio graphic.